Hey, listen up. I told you that I am going to be touching some grass, so here I am touching a little bit of that, right? So it's quite tickling, to be honest with you. Anyways, I am here to tell you why Debian is stable. You know, a lot of people actually mistake the words, and I'm not really here to pretend to be some kind of grammar Nazi. But the fact is, there are different types of stability. You know, most people believe that the only stability that exists is when your operating system doesn't crash. And you know, they say like Arch is stable, but it's not really that Arch is stable. Arch is actually very unstable. But the fact is, Linux kernel is stable, and it has been pretty rock solid stable for many years now, and that's why people believe that Arch is stable. But the reason why Debian says about themselves that they are stable is because they don't change the software within the release stability schedule. I'm not sure how exactly to phrase my words in the best way possible so that everyone and your kids can understand, but the reason why many professionals and companies that deal with servers and similar choose Debian as their preferred distribution is exactly the release stability. And what this means is that versions of software will not change while the security updates will be backported. So you can be sure that your workflow will never change. And your workflow will never change because the versions of software will not change. So you can be sure that your documentation will always function, your config files will always function, of course, until you decide to upgrade Debian to the next version. But until then, you will have at least 5 years of support and the guarantee that your upgrade or release stability will remain as promised. That's the core stability of Debian. That's what it makes it both stable and reliable for you as the user. Let me just cross this part here. Hopefully there aren't any snakes because there, on my path, because there are snakes on this path, so we'll see. We'll see about that. There is a ugly looking leaf over here. I suppose I'm gonna have to pay attention to the road here just to be sure that nothing jumps at me. Anyways, the reason why Arch is unstable is because they prefer rolling updates and freshness of the packages. So of course, one of my favorite examples, my own example, is there is an actual snake here. I am sorry that I didn't get it on camera. It ran away from me, so let me switch to can I switch to a different camera? Could be more fun. I don't think I can. Anyways, the reason why Arch is unstable is because their release is not stable. You know, they give you this opportunity to have breaking updates, such as, for example, when they changed SDL2 to SDL version 3. This happened when the original author of SDL3 has proclaimed that SDL3 is now stable, so they have imported it into Arch, and the reason why they did that is because they only keep the latest versions of everything, the latest stable versions of everything. However, the unreliability comes from the fact that Kdenlive, my video editor of choice, has been only working with SDL version 2. So when Arch switched me to version 3 one day, then Kdenlive no longer functioned, you know. And from one perspective, this is fine, because if you choose Arch, you know why you have chosen Arch. And I'm not saying that it will crash. You know, the Linux kernel will not crash on you. Probably never, you know, unless your hardware is malfunctioning or something like that. But the reason why you have chosen Arch is because you appreciate what it offers to you, and that will never be release stability. That is all. That is all that I was trying to explain. And it's not that Arch is bad, Debian good. It's all about whether Arch is better for your kind of a workflow, or Debian is the only way that you can do your workflow, you know. So for some businesses, for some professionals, Arch is simply not acceptable solution. For others, Arch is simply better, but it all depends on what you where you see yourself, right? I have a developer friend who told me that he needs all of the latest versions of everything in his tooling for programming. So apparently Debian is less than ideal for him, because he is programming bleeding edge stuff, you know. Similar goes for maybe Hyprland. At least it was true in the beginning, when Hyprland was moving like lightning. Nowadays Hyprland is in a pretty good shape, and when I say good shape, I mean it's not changing all that much anymore. And how you can notice this is if you check Debian Trixie. This is the stable release, the latest stable release. You can check in Debian Trixie backports. You now have Hyprland. Yep, you can have it, the latest version of Hyprland in the latest stable Debian. It doesn't really need all of the latest libraries anymore. It's good with the libraries from 2025. I think I am close to my destination, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe and stuff like that, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.